Hello, hello. Welcome back, folks. Welcome, Hayley. How are you?
Hi, Maddi. I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Good,
excited
good,
about
good.
today. You're going to be
Oh,
excited.
okay. Well, let's dive in. What we're talking about, what's on the agenda today?
So, I think me and you, what we're going to talk about today, me and you talk about a lot in private. This is the sort of thing that me and you get very passionate about when we have our conversations. And I think you have some really interesting stuff to say about this. And so, I want to talk today about gender disparity.
My
Are you
favourite
excited?
topic to be raging about. Yes.
Yes, Maddie's going to rant today,
Turn
folks.
your
If you
volume down,
enjoy a
guys.
rant, stay. So
Yeah.
I think let's get really clear for anyone who's like, this sounds interesting, but I'm not exactly sure what you mean by gender disparity. Tell us exactly what it means, Maddie.
Yeah, so gender disparity, I'll sometimes call it like proportional representation. So it's about how
Ooh.
many people in an industry, like how is that spread, and you might do it by whatever types of demographics, but in for this conversation we're going to talk about gender, and where those people are spread out as in the different levels of the industry. So how many we're going to talk about women. I want to just acknowledge that there are many genders, and but because we're going to look at statistics from something in particular, we're going to reference men and women, but we just want to acknowledge that there are way more genders than that. We're just going with what we've got on this bit of paper. So for me in particular with this industry, it's about how many women are there in the industry and where are those women within the different sort of tiers or levels of success in the industry.
Yes. So when you say proportional representation, that makes loads of sense to me as
Yeah,
well. It's a bit like, in another way you can look at this like, can't you? How many women are in government? How many women are
exactly.
making the
Compared to
important
how many women
decisions?
are in
Like,
the world, how many CEOs are
yes,
there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly
yes.
this. Yeah.
But we're going to talk about this today around the hair and beauty industry and gender disparity in our industry. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me when this first became something you were raging about.
Yeah.
How did this come on your radar, Maddie?
So I'm amazed that it wasn't actually earlier than this. As a very staunch and devoted feminist for many years, it actually took a little while for the penny to drop for me. How it happened was I think at the time I was a member of the NHBF who do statistics each year. So it's like in the industry, how many people are self-employed, what's the average turnover. And, I love the numbers and the business stuff. So I think I had just got this through. So it was like really front of mind. And at the time it was like maybe somewhere in the region of 80+% were women. And I thought, isn't that cool? Isn't that really nice that we're in a female dominated industry? And then I went to my postbox and I got the program for a trade show. I'll not say which, but they're all pretty much the same, or they were at the time. And I was reading the program of who's on, like who's doing stage work, and I was just raging because it was just men, 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 or the creative team of a man, where the majority of the team were men. So it's like
Yes.
the dudes were all on stages, they all had platforms, they were all speakers positioned as experts. It was like not only was it not proportionally represented, it was like women were the absolute I had to find where the women were because there were so few. And that just opened my eyes. And then, like anything, once you see it you can't unsee it. And then I got into my deep dive, which I'm still like, this was like 7 years ago, I'm still very much
Yeah.
raging about it. So that's how I first kind of thought
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And so it's like on one day, basically, you got two bits of information at the same time and you were just suddenly
Exactly.
like, what is happening?
This makes no
Yeah.
sense.
And so I suppose what you're saying is our industry is there's more women,
Yeah.
but the people being seen as experts and getting the bigger opportunities are men.
Yeah. And I thought the scientist in me wants to do some research and see if this is like, how can I quantify this? Like, how can I had this theory and I was like, I want to work out if my theory's true. So just to keep you in the loop, I've got up the most recent one, I think, and this is the NHBF industry statistics for hairdressing, barbering and beauty. And I find this really interesting because that includes barbering as well, so which we know is male dominated. And it says here over 80% of the workforce are female. Oh, sorry, over 87%. It's like huge amounts.
Across
like,
all those industries.
Yeah, presumably because it says at the top that it's for hairdressing, barbering and beauty. So obviously I don't know how many, I'm going to assume most of their members are hairdressers. I know that they've only kind of in the last few years brought in beauty and barbering, but it's an enormous number, isn't it? It's not like 50-50.
Yeah.
It's certainly way more than what the divide is in humans, right? And I thought, and I started thinking, how can I quantify this and put some numbers to it? So I thought, we know in our industry who we think of as being great and successful, but I think that's quite different to how it's perceived outside of the industry. Like there are people that I know and think of who no one would know.
Who we
they're
like.
They're not like what I would say is like a household name. And I thought a household name to a non-industry person for me felt like a really good indicator of success, both financial, reputational. Like if someone who's not a hairdresser knows who you are as a hairdresser, you're probably doing okay. That was like me theory.
If you're a famous hairdresser, you're doing all because famous outside of the industry for sure.
Yeah. You are known as a hairdresser, right? And because I'm always raging about this, I asked this to I've got like a personal Instagram, and I posted it to my stories, and I said, non-industry people answer this question. And this is all non-industry people, by the way, because I know all of these. I'm just going to reach out these names, and I'd go and ask someone close to you today who's not in the industry and see if you get the same. Quite a new one to the roster, JVN from Queer Eye.
Excited, a non-binary person at least in
persons,
there.
That's great start. We're getting there.
Good start. That's seeming hopeful, Maddi. How did it pan out?
So after that, it takes a turn. Vidal Sassoon, John Frieda, Vidal Sassoon, doing really well. Someone said can't name them, but would assume a celebrity one like Jennifer Aniston, Kim Kardashian. Both of those are men. Nikki Clark, Vidal Sassoon.
Who does their hair?
Yeah, like a celebrity hairdresser.
I was like, Jennifer Aniston's not doing hair.
No.
Whoever does her hair,
the guys who do them. So we've got Vidal Sassoon. Someone said a lady called Chelsea from Lowfell, which is just near Gateshead. And as much as I'm thrilled for Chelsea, I'm going to say that's not a household name because I think it's like just saying,
I'm sorry.
Sue from down the road's brilliant. But big up Chelsea if you listen to this. Well done. Everyone thinks very highly of you. Well done. Then we've got your boy, Vidal Sassoon, Paul Mitchell, Nikki Clark. Vidal Sassoon, Lee Stafford, Nikki Clark, Trevor Sorby. Nikki Clark comes back in the mix. Lee Stafford, John Frieda. And then we wrap up very nicely with JVN again.
Oh, excellent.
Which
I'm thrilled JVN's made the list.
I know. Thank God for JVN.
A hopeful little sign.
Yeah, I mean, I am absolutely buzzing about that. But there were literally, apart from Chelsea from Lowfell, there were literally no women in an industry that's 87% women. And
not one.
This is what kind of gripes me so much, is that, like, we're so lucky that we get to work with incredibly hardworking and motivated and ambitious hair and beauty professionals. The vast majority of the people that I work with are women. I would say
me too.
Exactly proportionate, about 87%, maybe even higher than that.
Yeah.
And why are they bumping up against this ceiling of like, they can be good, they can be great in fact, but they will never get to this point. And that's what it feels like, is why even try? Because you'll just never get to that top level. And that's outrage. Yeah.
Yes. It's interesting. I also feel there's an element of if you can't see it, you can't be it. And there's a lot of women here who can't see it.
Absolutely.
And we're not seeing. What I'm thinking about, Maddi, when you're saying that is, I feel like all those people on that list had a product line in Boots.
Yeah. That's it. That's how they know who they are. Or they were on daytime
Or
TV.
they were on This Morning.
Yeah.
They're on telly.
Or they were like they're in some sort of media They've got a sort of media personality, I guess. And actually, I was thinking about this because a guy friend of mine was like, "Oh my god!" And actually, it opened quite a lot of conversations with guys, which I thought was cool. And and even women were like, "I'd never thought about this before," but they felt like shocking that the first thing that came to mind was a guy, and that came up a lot. They were like, "Well, I'm just thinking, whose name do I see on the streets, like Tony and Guy? Like, whose name do I see in the shops?" And what I find interesting is, like, take for example Bleach London. As far as I know, they're women owned, but they don't put their name on.
Yep.
So it's like the brands that are brands, some of the brands that are women owned don't feel the need to maybe put their name on front of something, or they don't need to have their name above the salon door. Maybe that's a stretch that I'm thinking of, but
That's
I found that
interesting.
quite interesting.
Yeah, because while you were talking, when I started thinking, all of these have had a product line in Boots,
Yeah.
like
That's
mainstream.
why they're known outside.
Yeah. And then I was thinking, can I think of a woman who's had a product line? I can't think of one. Can you? I feel like there may be. Is there one? I feel like there might be.
That was
but
the only
it's
one
not,
I could think of. Was
not front of mind
yeah.
for me at all. But Bleach London, definitely.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that.
No, yeah. No one with an.
Unless
I
you're in
think
the
if you went
industry,
to
probably.
Boots, I don't think you would see a woman's name on the front of
I feel like
any
I'm going to have
packaging.
to do it.
Let's go to Boots after this and we'll do a research
I'll be
mission.
in Tesco soon. I'm going to go down the shampoo aisle.
Yeah. I think the brands, you'd have to do a deep dive to find out who the ownership
Who's behind
is.
it.
Yeah. And what's also crazy is, as I start talking about this, especially on my personal Instagram, is people were like, yeah, it's the same in these other industries. So
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So what did you find out? Because I was thinking, this can't just be us, because my first example was the government.
Yeah. So we see
they're
it in
always
business,
talking about, we need more representation in government making decisions for people. And that's obviously not going amazingly well. What conversations have you had then about other industries? Do you think this is certain industries, Maddi, or do you think this is everywhere?
I think that this is probably, sadly, everywhere. I'd like if anyone has suggestions of where it's maybe the opposite, in like a male-dominated field where there's more women at the top. But I mean, let's go for
what would that
crumbs
even look like?
Like in construction, like maybe like the greatest construction people are women. I mean, we can hope.
Or maybe more like, it would be like this, wouldn't it? In the construction industry, the people making the decisions are women, but the people doing the hard labour are men.
Yes. I don't think that is how it
seems
happens.
unlikely.
No.
I'd like that.
I would love that.
I'm thinking about when that woman used to run the football club.
Well, this
Can't remember her name.
is it. Well, you had Karen Brady and you had Delia Smith, and
everyone
remembers Delia for that really mortifying standing on the pitch going, "Go at him, boys," or something. It's like hideous. And don't even get started with like how women in business are portrayed, as the icy cold, bad bitches with no emotions who've clambered up to get there. But the other industries
they must be awful.
Yeah, they must be. Imagine what they've had to do to have got there. Yeah. Whereas guys, they're like, "Well done, you're a visionary. You're a great guy."
What she sacrificed to get there.
Yeah, more. I mean, that's a whole thing as well. The industries that came up were so cooking. So cooking would be like historically, societally is like that's what women do. But if you think of famous chefs with restaurants, TV chefs,
Gordon
lot of
Ramsay.
them are guys. Yeah.
Can't think of any more off the top of my head.
What famous chefs? Like Jamie Oliver, Gordon Ramsay.
Jamie Oliver.
I was going to say Gino.
Yeah. But then I can think of a couple of women, though. We've got Nigella.
Yeah. Nigella, who's been very overly sexualised, but I suppose Jamie Oliver was the naked chef, but I feel like that's not really the same. In the arts, in fashion is the one that I think is wild, considering it's, for the most part, the clothes are made for women. That especially the massive fashion houses are all guys.
That's true. I can think of a couple of women, but it's definitely male dominated, isn't it?
Yeah. And they are, obviously
But
there's like,
I bet the people doing the sewing,
oh yeah, yeah. And the,
you know,
patterns
the
and,
more
yeah.
smaller jobs will be women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, like the arts, like dance, that came up as well. So there's, I mean, it's not a world that I know a lot about, but again, it's the perception, isn't it? It's that when guys enter a female-dominated industry, and I see this so much in our industry, it's almost like, aren't they brave for walking into that,
Oh,
that
yeah.
arena full of women, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and
They
then
must be
they
really
then
sure of themselves.
yeah, like what a guy.
Yeah. And they
Yes.
rise to the top quicker. Is this your point
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
way?
yeah. I have a friend who's a male hairdresser, and he had a client say to him, I prefer coming to men to get my hair cut because they cut it with the male gaze in mind. Women will cut your hair to be beautiful, men will cut your hair to be sexy, and I want to feel sexy. And I was like, even gay hairdressers, and I was like, the math isn't mathing, but whatever.
Yeah.
And she said I would pay more to have my hair cut by a man.
No.
So it's like when other people think of hairdressers, they think of like, Sharon grafting her arse off, not having a lunch break, single mom, whatever. But they think of Darren and it's like, oh,
On the
the way,
telly.
the way he touches my hair and he shampoos me,
Yes.
and they're both hairdressers, but
Like
it's
it's
like
an elevated craft for men and it's
yeah,
a non-skilled job
it's a
for women in
fallback
a
option
way.
for women who are not
For the ones
academic
who
and
are
have
not that
failed at
smart.
school.
Yeah.
Guys are like this
Yeah.
pioneering. And
I think, that's so interesting actually, Maddi, isn't it? Because I think when people think about the stereotype of hairdressers as not smart, it's not smart women. I'm not
it's not
seeing,
the same for
if
guys.
you're a
Yeah,
fella hairdresser, you're really smart.
yeah, and
You're building an empire.
I see where I've had a few sort of run-ins with people like this where there's maybe say a husband and wife, and you better understand that the wife's a hairdresser, but the man's come in to run the business because little wifey can't do that. I've had to come in and do the books and all of that stuff, but I'm not a head. Don't mistake. I'm not the hairdresser. I'm the CEO.
Yeah.
I've seen that a bunch. Or they step into the hairdresser role, but it, like you say, it's not hairdressers as we know it. It's an artiste, a creative director, and business mogul, and all of that. And yeah, so that's how I see it. And before anyone comes at me, because every freaking time I talk about this, I get not all men and me. I'm obviously using generalizations, and as I said, the caveat with is more than two genders. I am blessed to know some wonderful guy hairdressers, non-binary hairdressers. What I'm saying is that the maths is glaringly wrong. Like it's not adding up.
What I'm hearing about this, Maddi, is this is how I make sense of it when you talk about this.
Yeah.
It's a female dominated industry, but a lot of the positions of power are held by men.
Exactly.
A lot of the people who are influential are men.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of the people with the power, the voices to be listened to are men.
Yeah. 100%.
And they are making decisions and speaking to and representing an industry of women.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so what I want to know is why is this a problem? But get really specific about why is this a problem? Why are you raging about this, Maddi?
Well, one, I think it's considering we have such people think so poorly of us outside of the industry. People have make judgments. It's very frustrating to me that even within the industry, we're still not even, women in the men are still not even able to make it up to these sort of upper echelons. Or you do, but you risk being a cold-hearted bitch who a lot of people hate or had to sacrifice or whatever. The problems in the day-to-day for me is if you have influence without lived experience, i.e. you are on a board or you are influencing the industry or something really important at government level, but you haven't had the experience of maternity, being pregnant or having like female related health issues or things like that. I don't think people should make decisions that impact people's lives when they haven't had the lived experience. And I think
Agreed.
there are some people who are doing well now, and I think, and there are some guys that I know in particular who've just kind of put their hands up and said, you know what, this was a total blind spot, and now I'm going to try and learn as much as I can, around things like menopause, adoption leave, maternity, all that stuff, which is brilliant. I think it makes the industry less aspirational to young women because it's like, come in and join us, but the conditions are pretty shit and you'll never really get this. Like you say, if you can see it, you can be it. They can't see it. So it keeps their aspirations low. And back to, a previous episode where we talked about minimizing your own growth and keeping yourself small. I think this maybe plays into this a little bit. And a problem that I see a lot of, I have a very love-hate relationship with awards. And actually, like
That's another episode.
that's a whole other episode. And things like stage work and talks and stuff is that it self-perpetuates. So I love Rachel Rogers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires, amazing book. And she says, guys will hold the door open for other guys. So it's like, if you're in this position of power, people tend to take care of their own. So it's like, if their friend is entering an award, or if their friend wants to, I don't know, be on this panel or whatever, it self-perpetuates. And like, there's a very, very big industry awards, which is one of the most highly coveted, and every single finalist in it this year was a guy. Like, I would be embarrassed to post that. If I was even their social media manager, I'd be like, please do not make me publish this. This is horrifying. And it then sends a message to women to go, why even bother? Like, if I saw that and I was in the market to enter an award like that, I would think, what is the point? It's the same, and it's the same people over and over and over. And again, this is not to take anything away from them. They're phenomenally good hairdressers, but it feels defeating, and it makes people not apply, and then the pool becomes smaller and smaller for the, and then the judges, they've only got guys to choose from, so no wonder all the finalists.
Do you think that, is there anything around what? Well, I wonder if you've answered it in some ways, but why are women not in the why are women not in these positions? Like, why was there no one nominated in that? Why are they not on the stages when there's so many to choose from?
That's a great question, and I would love to know or be privy to how many women are applying. Like, I would like to know. Like, I have a friend who puts on events and really, really strives for diverse speakers. And a challenge they have is that if they don't get a diverse pool of people putting their name forward, they're like, well, these are the people that have put their name forward. Yeah, without then going and it feeling like a box ticking exercise and going, oh, I need you to fill this diversity quota, which is also problematic. So I would want to know from the side, let's say, of the competitions, the awards, how many people who are applying are men, or how many women are. And I would love to know how they are scored, and what, like, were the guys genuinely better, or is it just because it's proportional?
I think they are blindly
judged.
Judged, that's the word I'm on. Yeah, aren't they? I'm fairly confident of that.
I don't know. I can't confirm.
I do have a few people I could ask, though.
Guys, if
I
you
feel
know
like
the
I've got a
answer to
few
this,
friends I could ask. I've got a couple of people I could ask,
I think there's also like wider systemic things. So much like, one of the reasons that we don't see as many women CEOs is because a lot of the time, a lot of women have kids, and they are expected, they have to birth the child, so they're expected to take full whack maternity. A lot of, in like a heteronormative relationship, a guy will go back to work after 2 weeks. He's got 50 weeks of career progression. She's maybe been off for 2 or 3 years, so she's already on the back foot. I think there's a lot of prejudice around giving women jobs of, higher quote unquote importance or responsibility, because they go, oh, they're a mum. They might have to have childcare time off. So whether it's conscious or subconscious,
but no one would say that he's a dad.
Yeah,
he might have to have time off.
No, they go.
And so this is really around maybe as well. A lot of the a division of labour is around home and child is still falling to women. So they just haven't got time.
Yeah, exactly this. Like they will usually default exactly that, like home stuff, care and responsibilities, whether that's for children or elderly relatives. A lot of and because of the financial things, a lot of women won't, for their reasons, won't charge as much, so they won't make as much. Maybe they don't. They A lot of women tell me they don't understand their finances, but both in the business and at home. So it's almost like, well, how am I going to pay? And also these things cost a lot of money. Like, how am I going to pay a PR to write this for me? How am I going to get to London? Especially if you're up in the north or up in the sticks, like how am I going to get childcare and pay for a hotel and pay for my train?
Yeah.
It makes it prohibitively expensive. Yet if you're a guy in Mayfair who can just hop on the tube and, tootle over and pick up an award,
and know that your wife's going to mind the kids,
that's not even an issue, is it? It's like that's the assumed position.
Yeah.
Then and it does. So I think there's all these like big wider sort of systemic things, but and I think there's I see this quote about it's a statistic and it says something like, if there's 10 bullet points of a job requirement, guys will apply if they hit 4, women need to hit 9. Like I think generally we have a lot of imposter syndrome, don't feel like we're entitled to things. Oh, I'm not good enough yet. I'm not good enough to speak on stages or to go in for awards. There's a lack of confidence, whereas for a lot of guys, they're lucky enough to go, yeah, I'll give that a crack, see what happens.
Yeah.
So I think there's that. There's so many different moving parts of this, I think.
It's really complex, isn't it? It is really complex. I'm sort of looking at it now and I sort of think, oh, well, there's things that we can be doing at the top of our industry to help this. Like, let's say awards, stages, panels, all of that. There's things that could be happening there that would make this better. But there's also just things that need to happen at real ground level, like division of labour in households to give people opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
To have the capacity to even think about entering an award.
Yeah.
And it's, I think things change at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
But that's my base. That's what I can think of, but I don't know what's the answer, Maddi. Like, what do you think the answer is?
I think there's a couple of things. And again, we want to be mindful of what's in our control. We can't change like systemic sexism. That's going to be really hard for like a single person to do. I wish we could. But I think for people who
we'd have done it, actually, Maddi.
We'd have done it, completed it. We're trying with this podcast. But I think the people at the top who are responsible and have the influence and wield the power of who gets the influence need to be really mindful around proportional representation. This is not just gender. This is like race and background and location and disability, all these other factors as well, age, etc.
Yeah.
And really
the example we're using is gender.
Yeah, for
but obviously
this particular statistic
counts for all sorts.
And I think for them to really strive for and just look internally and be like, okay, why is our maths not mathing? How can we try and encourage more people? Like, why are women not applying? How can we make it less impactful for them to apply? Can people do it where they don't feel like they have to show up and they can still be in with a chance of winning an award? Or like, how can we make it easier for people and appreciating that they maybe do have, more things to take care of at home? I think that men need to stand up and say, actually, I'm not going to be on this panel, or I'm not going to I'm not going to be part of this unless it's more diverse. So my friend has a clause in their contract which says, I will only speak at your event if it is diverse. Which is amazing, because that's a hell of it's a hell of a move to say, I'm gonna not develop my career, and be seen on these stages if you're not going to do this. So it's used in a position of power and influence, because they're a renowned speaker, to say, I'm going to leverage that to try and make you do better. So
that's so interesting.
If you're feeling brave, do that, guys.
I read this thing once, Maddi, where around this kind of thing, and they were saying the trouble is the people at the top are going to have to give up a bit of power for this to happen. And people don't like giving up power. You've got to be very confident, like your friend, to say, I'll give up a bit so that they can have a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And when the playing field levels, it's better for everyone, actually.
Yeah.
But not everyone can see that.
Yeah. And
it's interesting.
And there are some...
What else?
There are some amazing guys. Every time I talk about this, there are some amazing guys. I want to actually shout out Jack Howard in particular, because every time I talk about this, we have a really good conversation.
Oh, I
And
love Jack so much.
Jack's brilliant, wonderful guy, wonderful in the industry, and someone who does use their position and also completely empathises with ours as well. And, you know, because I always get people going, well, I've not won anything. I'm like, okay, but we're not talking about you. We're talking about the whole industry. So I'm always appreciative of people going, oh, this makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And how can I use my influence to put this right and to help this sort of cause? I think, so yeah, for men to be kind of better allies and to use that power and influence to change how things are done at the top. The organisers of events, so people who actually book the people to come onto the panels, the stages, you know, people who are advertising for the award spaces as well. And I think for us, we need to take up space that we're entitled to take up. And I think that's hard. That's something that I actively try to do. And it's tough because every time you do it, you get like people slagging you off, people trolling you. You know, I know that there are people who think I'm the most insufferable arsehole on the internet because I'm a woman with an opinion. Like, you know, I'm being called awful things, and I'm really thick-skinned, like, and I'm very confident in what I talk about and the work that I do. So, like, guys keep coming at me like, you're not going to win. But when other people see that happening to me, because I share, you know, look at this comment, this troll.
Yeah.
A lot of people just wouldn't be able to deal with that. They'd be so devastated, and that would like derail them completely. So I understand that. And also we shouldn't have to, like, we shouldn't have to think, if I share my opinion publicly, the price of admission for doing that is having loads of dudes slagging me off. That also sucks. But I think, you know, maybe not, you know, you don't have to be a gobshite on the internet like me, but maybe apply for that award, you know, write a press release, you know, show your face on social media, share your expertise and stand in that place of an expert, because you are. But you can't, and that's how we get to that next level. Like, there has to be an element of discomfort of publicly sharing your expertise and perspective and publicly being seen as an expert. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to do an award when literally no one knows who you are. You've never said anything, and you're just like total unknown.
Yeah. And if no one's applying,
Yes,
someone's got to go
things.
First.
Go first, guys.
Is a lot of the thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, Maddi. I find it such an exhausting subject. You know, like when I talk about stuff like this, I feel exhausted.
It's tiring, isn't it?
I always feel that culture change comes from the people in power. That's what I think. And I'm going to be paying more attention to this as I'm trotting around Salon International and shows and awards, and I'm just going to start paying a bit more attention to who's up there. I mean, I'm on a panel actually, and I know who else is on the panel, and it's pretty bare, which is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I know that a panel I'm on soon is, I would say, representative.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. Sign. No, I don't have anything to add, Maddi. I think you've done a spectacular job explaining it. I just think it's so interesting to notice how conversations like this make me feel tired.
It's exhausting.
Because it feels like a fight, doesn't it?
And worst
it feels
case,
like a fight.
We just go full-blown protests, gluing ourselves to the Excel, whatever, like, you know. We'll exercise our right to protest in some way, shape or form to be confirmed.
Yeah, but I think what's interesting is if it makes me feel tired talking about it, I think it makes a lot of women tired to just get involved, and that's why they don't. It's too tiring to fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Maddi, I really like listening to your opinion and your rants, particularly around things like this. It's always fun, and we've taken one of our favourite subjects public today.
Yay.
This is the sort of stuff me and Maddi talk about constantly, really, in our private time. But let's get that soapbox away now.
Yeah.
And think about something a little bit more fun, which is hyperfocus time. What's your current hyperfocus, Mrs.?
So I am. There was a period when I stopped drinking coffee, which was absolutely insane, and I don't know why I did it, because I absolutely love coffee and I love caffeine. But I'm very much back in the hype of this. But what I'm obsessed with is a jazzy coffee. And at the moment, because we're getting into autumn, do you know, like the American girls who are like, I'll have a non-fat, half-calf, double mocha,
Yes.
whatever. But I make them at home because I'm too mortified to ask a person for this. And I just got some very nice syrup, cinnamon dolce, which is like a sweet cinnamon. I'm getting into the PSL,
Ooh.
an iced pumpkin spice latte in this transitional period. Chef's kiss.
Ooh.
So
Do you know,
that's
Maddi, it's
what I'm at.
interesting you're saying this. So you're getting into bougie coffee, basically. More bougie. I mean, I know you're
Even
very
more
bougie with
bougie,
your
yeah.
coffee,
Yeah.
but you're getting even more bougie now.
Yeah.
You're moving on from the caramel
Yeah,
syrup.
man.
You're exploring the
Leveled up,
syrups.
yeah.
Interestingly, I was going to message you the other day because I'm in the market for a new coffee machine because mine's on the blink. And I thought, Maddi will already have deep dived this because
Got
I
it.
want one that makes good iced coffee. And I thought, Maddi will already deep dive this. She'll already have it.
Yeah.
So what coffee machine have you got?
It's a DeLonghi's something or another. I will find out which one it is. It's a bean to cup, so it's very nice. It makes very nice
Oh,
espresso. It can do two at once. So Aidan he has a black Americano, no milk, no sugar, no nothing. Straight up black coffee. I need to have the most ridiculous coffee ever.
15 things in it.
We call it fusion, which is just when you just throw loads of shite together. And then I put my milk with some ice cubes in I do like a little keep cup thing because it keeps it really cold. And then I just plop my espresso in, whatever jazzy flavours. And I don't even need to keep an iced coffee cold because I will literally drink it in 4 seconds. But it's nice to pretend
Yes.
that it'll be still sat there an hour
Yes.
from now.
Oh, because I was looking at this an espresso one. It's called like a Verto or something. And this seems to be the one that's good for the iced coffee. I wondered
Yeah.
if you had that.
No.
No.
Ours is just
I'm on the
because
edge
it
of
has to
deep
do
diving
it.
coffee machines. I'm on
Well,
the edge. So
not a shout out Mr. Bezos. However, Amazon Prime Day is coming up. So just be
hang
aware of
fire.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And then we'll
I
have Black
might do.
Friday and all of that jazz, You have to be
Yes.
strategic. And then you have to get air miles as well. This is like my whole life's mission is how can I get as many air miles as possible, which might be another hyper focus to talk about.
Yes. So my hyper focus this week is it's a TV show.
Yeah.
I think it's often TV shows and food, but mine is Welcome to Wrexham. Do you watch
Love.
this, Maddi?
So wholesome.
How
Adore it.
bleeding
Yeah.
heartwarming is that programme?
Gorgeous.
It
I love
is.
it.
Honest to God, I'm not a fan. I'm not interested in football particularly. I've had phases where I've been interested in football, but I'm not overly bothered. This is one of the most uplifting programmes ever, isn't it?
It's the stories of the
beautiful.
people, isn't it? Is that it's like,
Yes.
and it's a very working class town. Like,
Yes.
no one knew who they were beforehand, and they've got like Will Ferrell's rocking up to watch a match, and I think they balance. I love Rob McElhenney.
I do. I'm a big fan of Sunny Isn't
Always
It's
Sunny in
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
One of my faves
I mean,
ever.
if you don't like it, I can't get on with you.
It's a friendship qualifier, isn't it?
Yes.
And I love how they balance this like Hollywood, rich and famous, very funny, very handsome with like he's the guy who owns the pub, which is now getting really busy because all the tourists are coming in to take photos, and
Yeah.
it's impacted. And this is a kind of just to tie it to like a money thing. When someone does well, especially if it's in a really nice, ethical way, so many things around it do really well.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
Taylor Swift increased the GDP of many cities by like billions of dollars because when she came and played, everyone around was like getting hyped and businesses
Everyone
were doing
gets
really
money.
well. So I love seeing.
Yeah.
I love an underdog. I love seeing them do
Yes.
well, and I love seeing the ripple effect in the town. It's just beautiful.
I love the working class element to it.
Yeah.
And telling the stories of the working class people.
Gorgeous.
I like how Ryan and Rob talk about their real working class backgrounds, and it's like this is where we came from equivalent places, and honestly, I feel like I can't get through an episode without crying.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I really want to encourage anyone, if you're listening to this and think I need a bit of a lift, Welcome to Wrexham is just so good. What's it? It's on Disney, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
It's on Disney.
Yeah.
It's on Disney. So that's
Beautiful.
mine. It's beautiful. Let's
I love
end on
it.
such a beautiful, uplifting show.
I love it. I'm going to cry thinking about it. Well, thank you.
I'm going to go and watch an episode in a
I
bit.
know.
I've got one to watch. I'm excited.
Good. I'm going to check what we're up to. Always a pleasure,
that's
Never
it.
Shaw.
That
Thank
is
you so
us
much
for today. Thanks,
Wonderful.
Maddi. Been fun.
No bother. Right, I'll see you next time, Hayley. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
See you next week. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Please support those who support us and check out Timely, who we recommend is our favourite booking system for you. New customers can get 50% off their first 3 months with a code COFFEE50.